6:30. We'll go ahead and get started. I'll call the meeting to order. Our first agenda item is our Pledge of Allegiance. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Vice Chair, could you read our mission statement?
The mission of the Marshall Public School District is to educate, support, and prepare all learners for success.
Thank you. Motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
I'll second.
Any additions? Hearing none, please vote. It is approved. Public forum. Is there anybody in the public like to approach the board? Mr. Klein, feel free to come up to the microphone. Please talk into the microphone so they can pick it up on the recordings, please. Welcome.
Thank you. Steve Klein, class of 71, faculty member in the 80s. He was one of my students.
Was he good, Dan?
And currently owner of Klein Foods, Walnut Grove Mercantile on Highway 23. Here to talk just for a moment. You may have read in the newspaper that we have 100% of the businesses and offices in the intersection of Highway 23 and Lion Street that are opposed to the J Street or the J-turn construction that's potentially being planned. We think that that also affects the school district, especially with the Parkside School just down the block from that corner. We have listed a number of reasons why we believe that a J-turn is not preferred there. And our primary concern is safety at that corner. And since many of our students actually travel through that corner regularly, especially during the school year, we'd like to ask you to consider supporting our efforts to have the Department of Transportation reconsider their construction plans there. Questions?
Board members, any questions?
As you may have noticed, one of the notes in here is that the bus company now does not permit their buses to go through the J-turn on Saratoga. I, by chance, followed up. Someone was in the store yesterday from Hayfield. We got discussing. He's the bus owner for the Hayfield school area. And I asked him about J-turns. And yes, indeed, they don't let their people go through J-turns either. So you may want to visit with the Southwest coaches, but I know they have additional miles now because of not using this particular corner down here. So, further questions?
Very good, Mr. Klein. Thank you.
All right. Thank you much for your attention.
Moving on to our presentation. Amanda, the floor is yours. Always a pleasure to see you here.
Oh, thank you. It's always a pleasure to be here. So no surprise, it's that time of year. I'm here to discuss our state data results from spring of 2017. These will be the topics that I'll be covering today. Just like to review at the beginning of each one of these presentations which tests we are taking. We still take the MCA mathematics and MCA reading in grades 3 through 8. And each one of those we do once in high school. For reading, it's grade 10, and for math, it's grade 11. And those are aligned to our Minnesota academic standards. We also still do the science, one in elementary, middle, and high school, so one in grade 5, 8. And then whenever a student takes biology, then they would take that test. So most of the kids take it in 10th grade, but you could have a student who either took biology in 9th grade or they ended up taking biology in 11th or 12th. If a student were to fail biology and they retake it, they have to take it every time. Then we also have to take the access test for our English learners. And again, this is assessing English language proficiency in the areas of reading, writing, listening, and speaking. And really what we are trying to determine are our kids who are non-English speakers making progress towards becoming English language speakers. And I know we've talked about this before, but the research shows that it, on average, takes about 6 years for a student to become proficient in English. So those are the tests that we have to take, and those are our accountability tests. And those are the tests that we use internally to help us make improvements. I always like to also just talk about some changes in legislation that are related to testing, and there always seems to be a few. And this year, the college entrance exam reimbursement has changed slightly. We have been giving the ACT during the day, which is now a requirement that we have to offer a college entrance exam during the day. During the school year, and last year they added the SAT as an option for districts, but we have chosen to go with the ACT because that's the one that the majority of our students take. And the change this year is we still have to do those things, give an ACT or SAT or both, and offer it during the school day. For the last few years, the state has been paying for that, the cost of that exam, and moving forward, they are now only going to pay for students who are on free or reduced lunches. So I think Brian and Bruce and I have been having some conversations about that, of how we're going to pay for that, and I think we figured it could be around $9,000 for the school year. So just a heads up on that one. Amanda's budget may need to be increased a little bit.
Oh, Amanda, did they used to pay for it? Parents used to pay for it for their kids before?
Correct. They would do it on the weekends. Yep. Yep. And ACT has always had a waiver process that students could fill out, and if they qualified, then they would get it waived, the cost waived, but it was still taken on Saturdays. So, yeah.
So if it's not free and reduced lunch qualified, there would be a charge. And
yeah.
Are you not considering going back to the old way where the families would pay for it themselves?
Well, we could. That is one of the things that we could do. We could ask that students still pay for it, even if they took it during the school day. Yeah.
Why are they requiring school day? It takes kids out of the class again, 4 hours.
I believe that their intent was to make sure that they were hitting some of those kids that maybe don't have the ability to get there on a Saturday. So more inclusive is what their goal was with offering that during the school day. And then they were also, it was free originally, and so then you were catching more kids because it gave kids who maybe even wanted to do it more than once the opportunity to do it once free and then pay for it on their own. But yeah, the goal was to try to be more inclusive and hit some of our minority students who maybe wouldn't do it, whose families aren't encouraging them to go on to school, to try to hit some of those kids.
Are they going to evaluate that now that they asked to put it in place?
I'm sure they will, yeah.
Will they ask for input from you, from the school districts? They put stuff in place. My frustration, they put stuff in place, and they don't necessarily evaluate how well it's been carried out.
Yeah. I think it's gone pretty well actually at Marshall. I mean, I think we have had good attendance. You're right, it takes students out of class for
4 hour shot.
A good chunk of the day, because then they have to eat lunch when they're done, because we have to still follow the ACT rules, so they can't take a break for lunch. So kids are probably getting back to class around 1:30. Yeah, and it started at 8. Well, they start coming in at 8, and then by the time we get going, but so that's a change, and that does affect us. That's disappointing because I feel like we had good turnout, a lot of kids taking it when it was being paid for by the state. So now, we'll just have to wait and see what decision comes out of this change. So,
we did it on Saturday, didn't we? Pay teachers or someone overseeing the test?
ACT does. Yeah. That's ACT pays. Yeah, that's all ACT costs. So the second thing I have down is the opt-out form, and I probably labeled this incorrectly. It was really supposed to just be a parent informational sheet that the commissioner was to create and make available and have put out on all district websites. Part of that was that parents have the right to opt out. And that is on our website as of right now. I also attached it to my agenda item so you guys had the opportunity to take a look at it. And it's really trying to inform parents about why testing is important, what we do with the information, and also the other thing that they included on it, which is my third bullet, is that now students, if you have an MCA score of meet or exceeds in high school, so for reading 10th grade and in math in your junior year, you do not have to take remedial courses in college. You should be able to start right at the entry level for language arts or reading or a math class. So colleges should honor that moving forward. So that's a big deal too. And that helps parents, I hope, understand that this is a really important test, that if their student does well, they will hopefully save themselves some money on some of those remedial classes.
That's just Minnesota colleges or state colleges.
You know, I haven't seen a list of colleges, but my guess is that you're right. It's probably just in Minnesota. Maybe some other states around us might look at it because we have those agreements for being partnering or neighboring states, but for sure Minnesota. Well, right now, yeah, it's for students who I believe went to college this fall. If they had a 10th grade passing and a junior, I looked it up before I came because I knew someone was going to ask me that question. So I'm pretty sure it was, but a lot of people didn't know about it probably this fall. So really, any senior going to school next fall, if they had a passing score in 10th grade for reading, they shouldn't have to take a remedial reading class. If they passed the math class in their junior year, they wouldn't have to take a remedial math class. And I think we've talked about this before, too, at this table, that statewide there are a lot of students who have to go to college. They take the assessments there, and then they are told they have to do remedial classes, and then that costs some money. It doesn't go towards their credits to graduation, and so this is a huge benefit for families and students.
So ACT now is required for every student in the state unless a parent opts out?
No, it's optional. I'm sorry if I wasn't clear about that. Because originally it was every student. The second year that changed, and so students sign up for it in Marshall and in every district. Maybe every district handles it.
Why the opt-out form if the parents, if the students
Oh,
have to take
the
it?
opt-out form is for the MCA.
Okay,
Yep.
all right, thank you.
Mm-hmm. All right, so those are the new changes this year. I just put up here our testing window for MCAs for 17-18. Very similar to last year. That Access 1 we do first, starting in end of January, and that goes through March, and then we jump right in even before it's done with our MCAs. So what you've all been waiting for are MPS 2016-17 results. I'm looking at the data in two different ways. We can look at the data what's called all accountability tests, which is our MCAs and our MTAS, or we can just look at MCA alone. So this chart and the one that follows is our MCAs and MTAS combined. And I think, yeah, you guys can't see the numbers on this one, but if you look over here, and I can't see them, but we increased. We definitely increased here in, this one was math. And then our reading, we saw a nice jump from last year to this year. I'm just too short, Tricia.
Yeah, 55.7 in 16 to 62.3.
Thank you. So that should be around 6 percentage points if I'm quick on my math here. All right, and so here is a way to look at it just with our MCA results. And this chart you've seen before too. It's one that I use a lot where we have each grade. I've got math. This is MPS percent proficient. This is the state average of for percent proficient. And then I have the, plus or minus. And then we have reading, MPS, percent proficient, and then the state average of percent proficient. And so you can see that we've made some improvements from our chart from last year. And when we look at cohort groups as well, and I guess I'll be getting to that next, so I don't want to jump too far ahead, we also saw the same thing. But again, in math, we are 1.8 percentage points above the state in the MCAs, and then 2.4 in reading above the state this year. So here is just a summary of that information. And so for math, we did see a 1.7% increase from our score from last year to this year, along with the 1.8 above the state. And then we had grades 5, 7, and 8 above the state average. And I know we look at this every year and just say, what is it that grade 8 is doing? And just know that we have spent time trying to analyze and figure that out so we could replicate that in other grades, but it's just they do so many things that it's hard to identify just one thing.
It's a trend, isn't it? I mean,
Yes, it
seems
is.
like 8th grade is always.
8th grade has been solid for quite a few years, yes. But it also could be the building, the foundation, getting more students proficient as it grows each year too. So, but I know that the middle school just does a lot of interventions. They do the enrichments, so they're doing good work. So, and then our reading, lots of grades again above the state average, and then overall 2.4 percentage points above, and then this 6.7 increase from 16 to 17 for MPS percent proficient in reading. So nice gains there. And then here's, again, are just some other items of interest where I took a look at the cohorts. And this page is in math. And again, our biggest one here was that 8th grade. So from their 7th grade year to their 8th grade year, they saw a 20.6 percentage points increase, which, again, is just fantastic and amazing. So really good work there in the middle school math department. And then this is our reading cohorts, and again, very happy with the growth that we saw in our cohorts in reading. A variety of points here, but 2.4, 15.1, that's a smaller one, 2.6, and I can't see, what's that last one, Tricia? 4.5. Thanks. So again, a range, but all increases, which is nice to see. And our science also saw increases. All 3 of our grades that we tested were above the state average, and left Marshall with a 4.1 percentage increase over the state average. So some subgroup results. This is going to show you a subgroup and then the so like free and reduced and then non-free and reduced. And so I had to do these by subject area. So the first one is reading for free and reduced and non-free and reduced. This is a positive here. You can see that the difference. So we've got free and reduced in this line, non-free and reduced, then free and reduced. These are percent proficient, and then the difference. We want this number to go down. We want the difference to go down because then we're reducing the achievement gap. And you can see we had a nice gain from 16 to 17. And this is district-wide information, so we'll break all this down by building when we meet with the buildings and departments and grade levels to take a look. So then this is free and reduced for math. Again, another slight gain and a decrease in the achievement gap. We went from 34.4 to 33.3. And then with our English learners, we saw an increase in our EL students' proficiency, but our non-EL saw a greater increase, so that we did not reduce the achievement gap in that one, and that was in
reference to that, Amanda. Do they take into account in figuring out the data for our non-English speakers that it takes 6 years for them to become proficient in English?
What they have done, and this is a change in one that I've heard our administration ask for, is that they're going to leave students in an EL subgroup for 3 years after they've been dismissed from EL. Because what would happen is we get them to proficient, and then we're dismissing them from EL, and then they don't count anymore. So what the state has done, and I think they heard school districts saying that, now that student, once they're dismissed, they will still have 3 years where we will count them as an EL student. Because then
help that score.
Yeah, it should. Yeah.
Which is an honest rating.
Absolutely. They've been in our EL program. We help them get to proficiency.
Absolutely.
And so that was a change. Yep. I think that's ESSA change.
Good.
Yep. That was a good question. So that was in reading. Now, math. We did see a slight increase, but again, the non-English also improved. So we did decrease it, but only by 0.3 percentage points. This is our special ed population. This one also went up but again, so did the non-SPED, so we did not see a decrease in that achievement gap. But still, it's nice to see an upward trend for our SPED students. And then SPED students for math. This is one that did go down for our SPED students, and so our achievement gap grew. But again, I've been hearing a lot of ups here. So, and then here is our minority population, or our different races, and this is in reading. And I will just point out that we have very small numbers of American Indian, and very small numbers in the Native Hawaiian or Pacific Islanders. So, when you see the big jumps way up onto the top, the numbers are so small, you're going to see that kind of information. But overall, for our reading, we did see increases in our Asian, our Black, and our Hispanic, and our white too. So, and then this is math. And again, we did see increases here in our Asian, our Black, and our white. So again, this is just kind of summarizing what we just looked at in those charts. And I just put down our celebrations. So subgroups that actually increased from 16 to 17. And by what percentage? And then the same thing in reading. I'm just going to point out that's all of our subgroups right there. So, yay, reading. So again, we talked about when we were looking at those charts, were we reducing the achievement gap? Because even if we're seeing a trend line going up, if the non-subgroup was also going up, we may not be reducing that achievement gap. So what are some things that we are doing? And I've listed them here. Having that 0.5 EL coordinator has really been beneficial and helpful, and even working with the parent-student connectors as someone to be their person of contact and help them move forward as a group. I've seen a lot of growth in that area this year, and so kudos to them. And we have fantastic parent-student connectors, just wonderful. They're doing a great job, and we added those this year as well, or 16, 17. And we increased SPED staff last year, and we are increasing it again this year. We just continue to see our SPED numbers increase. So those are just some of the things we're doing. And
just to add to on the EL coordinator and the parent connectors, I just see so much more community involvement, getting the parents involved, that it's got to help.
Absolutely.
Getting them involved in the student activities too.
I agree. The more comfortable the parents become with the school, then the more we're going to see the students in activities and doing better academically as well. Yep. So our response and direction, we really didn't change much this year from last year because we feel like the things that we started doing have really started to show the results of that work by our increased test scores. So we're going to continue to do a lot of these things. The best practices. We're always looking at research and trying to identify what's the best practice in the classrooms, what's most beneficial for our students. The curriculum, this is an area where we continue to look at our state standards, and are we teaching those in the classroom? Are they aligned? What's happening in the classroom to those state standards? Data, I feel like we talk data a lot. We have our admin meeting. So Scott and I have been meeting with the principals on each building's data results. We do that in end of July and beginning of August. So now we'll move on to the building meetings where Scott and I and the building administrator will meet with the building and talk about their specific data. Then we'll go down to the grade level and the departments. So a lot of data meetings coming up, and will have started happening, but will continue through that first month of September. And maybe even a little bit into October, where we really dig in to see what's working, what's not working at each grade level, and then create action plans that become part of our school continuous improvement plans. So again, that's something I feel like Scott has really done a great job leading the team into doing a better job of looking at our data and making sure that we understand it and are using that information. Yep.
With regard to the increase in scores and so forth, do you think what we've done with standard-based instruction, all the work we've done there, has
absolutely
pinpointed our instruction more?
Yes, I feel like teachers and students understand the standards so much better.
We're seeing results of that work.
I believe so, yeah. I absolutely do. And actually, we do have that. That's on this slide. That's the bottom one. But again, just having teachers become very comfortable and familiar with their standards. And I do feel that we are still working on making sure that we are assessing at the rigor that we need to be assessing those standards at. But I do feel that our teachers have a pretty good idea of their understanding of their standards, and they are giving that information to the students, and the students have a good understanding of what they should be learning during a particular class or grade level. Our professional learning communities, I feel we are continuing to always provide staff development and the leadership and support to our professional learning communities, so those are continuing to strengthen and become stronger. This year we are doing something different, and I hope I'm not stealing something that Michelle wanted to share with you, but we are going to be having each one of our administrators present to our peer coaches this year instead of having Michelle do all the presentations. So I just think that's fun that each principal can bring some of their knowledge and strengths to our peer coaches to help with that PLC process as well. And I'm really looking forward to that. And I do realize that I accidentally put my NWEA data in the wrong spot. So sorry about that, but we're going to go back to the NWEA data. Our NWEA is what we use internally, our district chosen assessment, which you guys are very familiar with. And I have provided two charts here. This one is comparing Marshall Public Schools in this column to the national norm. These are the mean RITs for MPS per grade and the nation, and then the difference. And so I don't know if you remember this, but we haven't always had all green since we've been showing you this chart. So this is exciting and fun to be able to share. So our math and our reading for all grades are above the national normed mean RIT.
And the neat thing about NWEA is we get the data back immediately.
Exactly.
So teachers can use that to find weak areas for correction. That's one of the strongest points about our NWEA testing.
And they have a wonderful thing called the Learning Continuum, where there are resources for teachers. So if they have a student who's really low, has a RIT score of 157, they can tell you in reading or math, they can tell you exactly, these are the skills you need to be working on with that child to bring them up to the next level. So it's a very good tool, and I feel like our teachers are also feeling more comfortable with this test and all the resources that go along with it.
It's with the standard-based learning pieces that we're doing.
Absolutely. So this one again was the national norms, and of the national norms. And this one is our growth overview. So this one takes a look at how much the kindergarten class grew from fall to spring, and then we have NWEA's normed information. So for each grade, it has that, and this is math, this is reading, and again, every grade level grew more than the normed growth expected. So again, all green in these two columns, which is something we haven't seen yet before either. So again, very excited for that, excited for MCA results, excited for NWEA results, and I really feel it's the work of our teachers, our administrators, our parents, and our students working hard to make those improvements and have these results. So I did those already. So if you want to learn more or do a little bit more digging, I always like to give you the site for the report card on the MDE website. Any questions?
I think this is the best result I've seen since I've been on the board. Kudos to everybody.
Yeah, it's exciting.
Nicely done, Amanda.
Thanks.
I agree. That's the best that I've ever seen.
I know it's so fun.
But it seems like everything that we did is finally coming together. And
Right.
It takes years for that to work.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah. Hopefully we're on an upward trend. So
Praise to the teachers and the
yes,
staff.
absolutely. They've done a great job. Yeah.
Headed in the right direction, got things in place. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Moving on to our consent agenda. Motion to approve.
I'll move.
I'll second.
Any questions? Please vote. Is approved. Financials.
The bills for the period of July-August by fund category. General fund, $1,015,811.97. The food service fund, $22,556.80. Transportation fund, $65.18. Community services fund, $14,282.76. Capital outlay fund, $112,687.55. Construction fund, $107,206.16. Debt service fund, $283,025. OPEB debt service, $8,676.25. That makes a grand total of $1,564,311.67. And I would recommend approval of those bills for the period July-August, Mr. Chair.
Motion to approve. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Any questions? Hearing none, please vote. It is approved. Anything else?
Nothing to highlight on the treasurer's report at this point.
Board forum. Board members, do you have anything you'd like to bring up?
I do. I attended the collaborative meeting last week. It's a Lion Prairie Collaborative, and they talked budget, and they had some extra money. I requested additional funding. Last year we had $27,451, and they agreed to increase ours to $30,000. And if there's more money available, we'll ask for more in January. We've been at $24,751 for some time, and that contract is being sent by Cindy Nelson to Bruce. The other school districts are Murray County Central and RTR that access those funds. They gave those other two districts an additional $750. One thing that I felt needed to be presented was the number of being reduced in each district and the number of students. So they've asked us to bring that forward in January, they can have a meaningful look at why we're requesting the additional funds. And I think we will get more funding again in January, and I'll certainly be asking for that. So we got an increase of about $2,500, and that contract will be coming to Bruce.
Very good.
I just had a couple of, I think we all get these emails, but a couple of things coming up. MSBA's Advocacy Tour is coming up in Worthington on Tuesday, September 12th, and then MREA is going around the state. Closest one to us is in Slayton, and that's on Monday, September 25th. So I'm going to be going to both. If somebody else is going, just let me know. We can ride share.
Very good. Thank you. Anything on information with Hoffman and Broats? No. Okay. We'll do our audit. Truth in taxation reminder.
That out early.
Yeah.
It's kind of a warning for the new student school board members of maybe a meeting they'd want to have a conflict with. Just kidding.
I always like the humor that you bring to this. Okay, going on to our administrator's report.
In my report, I have information about new teacher orientation, which actually starts tomorrow, and staff workshop taking place next week. Of course, all of you are invited and encouraged to attend any parts of those that you're able to. Also, some information on and updates, if you will, about the strategic plan. Tiffany's early childhood report, she included information about the voluntary pre-K plus, I believe is the official title, which we met on again today to try to figure out some answers to some questions that we have, but excited about hopefully being able to create some slots for kids. She also mentioned that the early childhood open house and vehicle fair will be September 7th from 5:30 to 7:30, so that might be something that you want to attend. In Darcy's report from Parkside, she has updates about new staff that will be in place this year, and also just a variety of different things happening at the start of the year, as most of the reports do, that you maybe want to take a look at. Jeremy's report from Westside, he has his annual, or they have their annual assessment days September 5th and 6th, which would mean then that school starts on the 7th. And he is also sort of leading some efforts to take a look at the interventions that we have in place, primarily K through 4, and look at maybe transitioning to a school-wide title program, which is structurally different than what we have right now. So he has a little bit of information about that. In Mary Kay's middle school report, they have open house for all students, grades 5 through 8, on September 5th. They use some flex hours, if you will. It's from 10 in the morning till 6 at night, and then also some staffing updates that she included. Brian's report from the high school, a variety of different things, test scores. He's waiting on some ACT scores and whatnot. But they held picture day on August 8th and tried to sort of lop that off as something that, going back to what Bill said, if there's a way we can not pull kids out of classes to take pictures and do it before school starts, that's a good idea. So a lot of not just picture day, but also vision and hearing and other things, scheduling. Bruce's report for activities. Obviously, fall practices have started. I believe they had some meetings this morning, and there's a new requirement for asthma, online asthma training for coaches that the State High School League will be facilitating this year. Coaches already have concussion training and other things, but now they've added asthma because of the increased number of asthma student athletes. EL coordinator, I'm not seeing that report on mine. And in Amanda's report, and she could have said this, but she also has information about the new teacher orientation. That's included in mine as well. And then something that I'm pretty excited about, we're going to be offering technology training to more support staff this year. I think we had pretty good success with special education paras last year, so we'll look to expand that reach. Jackie's report, she have staffing updates, and then there was a licensure change that took place as part of the legislative session, so she provided information about that.
I think that licensure change was exceptional for us.
It's going to help.
Able to recruit staff and keep staff rather than make them get additional training. That was a plus.
Yeah, it was definitely a step in the right direction. Then I'll let Bruce and Amran share their reports.
All right. My report, basically the items are self-explanatory. Just one item that I did want to highlight is the Open Door Health Fair that took place on August 4th. Very successful, about 160 kids, a lot of families, a lot of activities. There were a lot of other agencies and groups that had tables, and I think all in all it was a great health fair. And Open Door Health will continue with their dental assistance for our students starting in September on Tuesdays, every 2 weeks at different locations, Parkside, Westside, and the middle school. Again, a good program for identified students needing that dental work.
Thank you.
Amran.
Welcome.
So my name is Amran Mohammed, and I'm a junior at Marshall High School. I'm the third youngest of 7 siblings, 3 brothers and 4 sisters, and all but 2 of my siblings, obviously the younger ones, have attended university. My older siblings and parents were all born in Somalia, and I'm the first to be born in the U.S. My interests include math and science, and I'm on the math team, BPA, Student Council, and Link Crew, Upper Bound, and X. I consider myself a hard worker, and I always strive for my best work.
Thank you. Welcome.
Good to have you here. excited?
Yeah.
Good.
Good. Moving on to our discussion items, we have our school board goals.
Well, it's obviously the start of the year is getting closer, so just more than anything, was hoping to sort of maybe have some conversation about if you want to set school board goals for this year. If so, how would you like to go about making that happen? The two goals from the last 2 years have been provide safe and adequate facilities has been one, and promote the welfare of the district and all children through the political process. If you think back to the last school board self-evaluation, those were two that I believe you had rated yourselves relatively low on. Still strong ratings, but they were two of the lower ones cumulatively. So I think that's why those goals were selected. How would you like to proceed, I guess?
I have a question. We've done all that work with strategic planning. It seems logical to me that if we're choosing 2 goals of the 10 for strategic plan, then we as a board should align our initiatives to that. That's my feeling. I don't know.
Great idea, Bill.
Feel.
Yep.
So what does that look like then, do you think?
Where have we ended up in our targets? One was the facilities, I think, and the other was the strategic plan, wasn't it? In terms of priority?
Facilities and advocacy, basically,
Yeah.
for the political process.
Don, do you want to pick up the strategic plan as something that the board's going to pick the top 2 items and work on?
I would say for us to fully support and get behind in terms of our initiatives. I don't know what you guys think about that, but, we put a lot in the process, and I think the process was excellent, and it's a roadmap. So we should, my sense is that we need to be on board with the 2 pieces that we do each year over the 5-year period.
I agree. Very good.
I move we do that.
I'll do some work and come up with some ideas for you and shoot it up.
Is that logical for you, Scott?
Yep, absolutely. Makes sense.
Any questions on the review of policies 101, 103, and 534? This would be the second review.
Actually, just had one question on the meal, unpaid meals. For staff, do we allow the staff to go into a negative? Because I just saw at the bottom of the policy it shows that if it goes to a negative 25, and I'm just wondering why it would get to that number if we don't allow negative.
Which one are you looking at, Dion?
The unpaid.
Oh, okay.
The top of the policy, it talks about the accounts being like a checkbook, that if you don't have the funds, you're not able to charge the meals. And I'm just wondering, if we have to have that in there, are we allowing staff to go into the negative, or is that?
We have, yes.
We try to treat them the same as everybody else, families, individuals, whatever.
Has that been an issue? Bruce?
Not very much. Occasionally we have that, and we
Just make a reminder and they pay it up.
work through that, yes.
Any other questions?
And we are not denying children food.
Never.
Just Trish's.
Do the staff have the same accounts as their kids? Is it all together? Or is it separate?
Yes.
So it's a family account.
You can have anybody to get behind. So.
Absolutely. Although it is getting more difficult to get behind from a notification perspective, because I think Tahir has been doing a nice job of trying to reach out to families and work with them. So.
Very good. Moving on to our action items, we have approval of the dissolution with the Prairie Net Wayne agreement. I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
This is just an organization that its original intent. It was successful at parlaying, getting the groups of different agencies together and working on developing a wide area network, and it's something that's run its course, and that's really what the resolution is about, and it might reappear in maybe more of a user's format in the future.
This was for the infrastructure, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I finally updated my little page here, so I made a motion. Did we have a second?
I do.
All right, thank you. And I was listening to you. I just was going to see if I could fix this without having Trish come over, and I did.
All right, very well.
Good, Jeff. Thank you.
Very appropriate timing.
Very good. Any other questions on this? Hearing none, please vote. It is approved. Action item, approval to support of the safe route to school plan. Have a motion.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
It's open for discussion.
This is a process that began probably, well, a couple years ago, maybe, Karen, right? Starting with the city and the Chamber of Commerce, and it was worked through the whole planning process through the efforts of the Southwest Regional Development Commission. Max Kaufman is the individual there. We had, I believe, 3 or 4 meetings where we went through all of the information and did surveys and studies and so on. And this plan really is a result of all that work and activity. And this Max Kaufman suggested that the entities like the City Council and the school district, school board, I should say, make a formalized approval of so that they are supporting the final plan, which will help us as we will strive to look to gain an infrastructure grant, which would be certainly more significant than the planning grant that we received, and we're going to work on that here this fall to get it out there by January of 2018, and working closely with Glenn Olson and others from the city on that particular item.
Great action. Any other questions? Hearing none, please vote. It is approved. Move to close the meeting. Do I have a second?
Second. So moved.
The meeting is now closed. Thank you. Any questions for you?